Leo's here. I'm the CEO and founder of Relocation, and today I have here with me a very special guest. She is a registered migration agent. Her name is Tone, and she's from Northern Territory. And I know many of you are very serious and very interested in moving to NT. So hopefully after today's podcast, you will have a better understanding about NT, and about the migration policy there, about the environment there, and many, many more. But first of all, thank you for joining me today, Tone. Really appreciate you.
No worries. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Tone, before we start, do you mind just quickly introduce yourself to my audience so they know more about you?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Ying Tong. I am a registered migration agent and education agent in the Northern Territory, even though my service is just not limited to Northern Territory. So I've lived here for more than 10 years. My parents migrated over 10 years ago to Catherine, which is a small town with 10,000 people, population of 10,000. And then I came to Darwin to study for university. So I've definitely lived here for over 10 years and I still love it. My expertise, I've been registered for over 2.5 years now. So I've started in 2017. I've done a lot of regional skill migration, which is basically your 190 and your 409A, which has been replaced by 491 now. And I've also done a lot of family visas, including partner visa, and I have one child visa in progress at the moment. So some of my highlights include I've gone through a very intensive 190 application process with someone, and then from nomination to application for the nomination to the grant of visa, that's just within a year. Yeah. And yeah.
Okay, sure. So, well, that's very impressive introduction, Ton. And also, I think you really represent a very good example of someone whose background is from overseas and now moving here and settling down here and making that Australia dream come true. So, I think that's you embody a lot of that. Okay, so let's just go into the some of the questions that my clients have. But before we do that, do you want to share with us some of the presentation or something?
Yeah, I can share a quick presentation. We'll probably just spend around 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes max.
Leo's here. I'm the CEO and founder of Relocation, and today I have here with me a very special guest. She is a registered migration agent. Her name is Tone, and she's from Northern Territory. And I know many of you are very serious and very interested in moving to NT. So hopefully after today's podcast, you will have a better understanding about NT, and about the migration policy there, about the environment there, and many, many more. But first of all, thank you for joining me today, Tone. Really appreciate you.
No worries. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Tom, before we start, do you mind just quickly introduce yourself to my audience so they know more about you?
Yeah, sure. So hello everyone. My name is Ying Tong. I am a registered migration agent and education agent in the Northern Territory, even though my service is just not limited to Northern Territory. So I've lived here for more than 10 years. My parents migrated over 10 years ago to Catherine, which is a small town with 10,000 people, population of 10,000. And then I came to Darwin to study for university. So I've definitely lived here for over 10 years and I still love it. My expertise, I've been registered for over 2.5 years now. So I've started in 2017. I've done a lot of regional skill migration, which is basically your 190 and your 409A, which has been replaced by 491 now, and I've also done a lot of family visas, including partner visa, and I have one child visa in progress at the moment. So some of my highlights include I've gone through a very intensive 190 application process with someone, and then from nomination to application for the nomination to the grant of visa, that's just within a year. And yeah.
Okay, sure. So, well, that's very impressive introduction, Ton. And also, I think you really represent a very good example of someone whose background is from overseas and now moving here and settling down here and making that Australia dream come true. So, I think that's you embody a lot of that. Okay, so let's just go into the some of the questions that my clients have. But before we do that, do you want to share with us some of the presentation or something?
Yeah, I can share a quick presentation. We'll probably just spend around 5 minutes. Cool. So we're going to quickly talk about the insights into the Northern Territory, mainly in the education and migration parts.
Yes.
And then just a little bit of myself, which I've already pretty much gone through, registered migration agent and education agent in the territory. So this is the Australia. You can see that red part, the so-called red center. So Northern Territory is one of the 2 territories in Australia, the other one being the ACT, and it covers a very large continent, not continent, but area of the Australia. With the population is only half of its size. So not a lot of people here, but so welcome. The next one, so it's Darwin. So Darwin is a very vibrant, although not too big city. It has population of 140,000, but there's nationality of 60. So very diverse, a lot of different cultures here, and the local residents being Australians, they are usually very warm and welcoming. So Darwin's actually only 2.5 hours away from Bali.
That's a very fun fact. I wasn't aware of that until you told me. I should move to Darwin then.
Yeah, I know. It's a very, very good weekend getaway. We usually just jump on the plane and go over when there's a long weekend. And then 4 hours to Singapore and 5.5 hours to Shenzhen, which they are all direct flights. So it's available, very easy access to Asia. And then there are different top 5 languages, being the Australian Indigenous language, Filipino. There's a lot of Filipinos and Vietnamese here. Greek, Mandarin, and also the last one, I believe, is one of the languages from India. Yeah.
Wait, so you say there's a good number of Vietnamese there?
Yeah, there's a lot of Vietnamese here.
Oh, wow. And what do they really do there? What is their main occupation there?
Main occupation, I think the younger generations are usually professionals, but whereas the older like I swear, 60%, 50 to 60% of the farms in Darwin, like mango farms, veggie farms, they're all owned by Vietnamese.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so a lot of Viets here, definitely, and we have really good fur. And banh mi.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Okay, move on to the next one. Unemployment rate. It is the lowest in Australia. That is the Northern Territory, with an average salary of around 80,000. This is really, really good figure, I think. And then the 60% of Darwin's workforce is actually made up from the government employees. So government is it's literally the largest employer in the Northern Territory. So that's the Northern Territory government as well as local government, being the councils.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, they only hire local people, right? So you must have a permanent residency, no?
No, there's actually a lot of international graduates being accepted and working in a graduate program for Northern Territory government, which is really good. I've had a lot of interactions with those graduates previously, so even including engineers,
Really?
IT graduates. A lot of them are nurses, so because there's a very big demand, and even hospital pharmacists. Yeah.
Wow.
So they don't just hire locals, they definitely hire international students, even not international students, offshore applicants. Yeah.
Because
So
recently I spoke with this migration agent from Canberra,
yeah.
and she said that over there it's about 50-50. So 50% of all the jobs come from the government sector. The other
Mm,
50 from private. And for the government sector, they only hire like at least PR
yeah, at
or
least. Yeah.
citizen. Yeah, they don't
No,
hire.
for the Northern Territory government, as long as you have working rights, you can. Yes.
You should tell us earlier.
Very good.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So everyone should come here. And then, yeah, definitely, because like the government is really our largest employee. So you walk on the street, hey, I work for the government. Hey, I work for another government department. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Nice.
Okay, moving on. We're going to quickly talk about the temporary skill migration income threshold.
Hmm.
So this is set by the federal government. It is currently at $53,900. This is a requirement to basically apply for 191, which is the PR pathway after being a holder of 491 for 3 years. So if you are a holder of 491, you need to earn at least 53,900 for at least 3 years before you can apply for 191. Yeah, which is the permanent residence visa in the regional area. Yeah.
Which
So
is something that a lot of my my clients or my followers, they are really concerned about this
yeah.
figure, because really 53,900, it seems like it's not a small number. Um, yeah, it seems quite big.
Um, yeah, but to be very honest with you, I've actually written down some notes somewhere that working in Woolies, doing night fields at Coles or Woolies, supermarkets, anything, doing just night fields would get you about $27 an hour. So that's the normal rates here. And if you are a student, let's not talk about post-graduation. Let's talk about when you're working and when you're studying and you need a part-time job. They are usually getting around $24 to $25 an hour before tax. And this is a figure before tax as well. So 53,900, that's a taxable income. So that's before tax. Yeah.
Wow.
So very honest opinion, you shouldn't be
Mm.
worried about it at all because
That's
it
good.
is
Yeah,
quite,
yeah, that's good. Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very achievable in the Northern Territory. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, just a little bit of more stats here. This is May 2019 figure, so it's quite relevant and definitely up to date. I'm not showing anything that's like 2015 prior. Yeah. And then just to add a little bit there, engineering graduates here, they are usually getting around 70,000 to start with as a fresh grad.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're all talking about full time earning here, right? Full time, yeah.
Full time. Yes, full
Mm.
time. And that's just as a fresh graduate, first year after graduation. And then it will slowly move up around, because the CPI is around 2.5% to 3% here. So you can just sort of calculate the income. And obviously, after working for around 3 years, you earn enough skill and experience, you usually can move up a level. Yeah.
And when you say engineer, what, because there's different types of engineer, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
do you have any specific engineer that is most
Um,
popular there, in demand there?
I would say electrical and mechanical is probably a little bit more popular in here. Um, mechanical engineer is actually on the high priority list for skilled occupations in demand for the Northern Territory. Civil and electrical are definitely still in demand as well. So I don't see a big problem in graduates, international graduates, in terms of securing a job after their graduation. Just to remind you, like at the moment for studying Masters of Engineering, I'm talking about civil, there's probably around 10 people studying the master degree, and out of the 10, 2 of them are international students. So you have a very, very, very high chance of securing a job after graduation.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very good news. Yeah, that's very good news.
And just to add, nurses probably start around 60 to 70,000, and they also do overtime, night shifts, and stuff like that. So it adds on top of that. Accounting's a little bit lower. They usually start around 50 to 55, depends on who you work for. Yeah. So private's a little bit lower. Yeah.
So on that note, so for people who once they got their 190 from NT, do you see many of them actually leaving NT and going back to Sydney and Melbourne, or usually they would live there permanently after that?
I would say half and half, because a lot of people, even though they get their 190 visa, they have families interstate, they will actually move around. And then there are ones that with younger children, they also will move away as well. So this is what I see. But there are definitely a lot of people that likes the lifestyle here, likes the convenience of transportation or access to everything. It doesn't take hours to get from one place to another. So there's still a lot of people that hang around here after graduation and after obtaining a permanent visa.
Nice. Good. Actually, in a way, that's a good news as well, that people actually leaving from NT, because that means the new ones who moving in, they will have more chance for the jobs.
Oh, yeah.
On a
Yeah,
side note, I
but
think it's good news too.
yeah, but I really don't think the whole getting a job is going to be an issue, because there's really good employment prospects here. I'll talk about that a little bit
Sure.
later as well. I've got things to add. All right, let's move on. Probably missed a slide here. So this is talking about the weather, because I also get a lot of questions asking about, is it really hot over there? Can I deal with
Yeah.
it? So at the moment, the temperature is actually rising with a little bit of humidity. But one really good thing about the Northern Territory is because it's hot, so you have aircon everywhere. So you have aircon in shops, cars, pretty much all the accommodation, even if you are renting. Whereas compared to Queensland, it's still really hot, but they may not have aircon in every household. Yeah.
Yes. In Tasmania, we only have heaters.
I
We
know.
don't have
You don't need aircons. Yeah, you don't need
That's true,
aircons
though.
over there. Yeah,
That's
so we have 2 seasons only, which is dry season and wet season. So dry season is nice and cool with no wind, quite dry, and then wet season is between December to March. So you will experience a little bit of thunderstorm and rain, but it's not too much to worry about. Last year we had a really, really good wet season with like not much rain at all, so I wasn't really bothered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. And also moving on, we have the high priorities occupation. So this is the occupation that's in the anti-migration list and also in the in-demand list. So we have teachers here from early childhood, primary and secondary, definitely in demand. As long as you can meet the English requirements, usually it's easy to secure a job, and it is also easy to get 190. Registered nurse and midwife, definitely, if any of my recommendation, anyone that comes to the Northern Territory, I would recommend studying the nursing degree. It's a very good degree in terms of not just getting your permanent residence visa. It is also a pretty good job, and then pays very well. Like I have friends that study at the same time around me, because I study pharmacy originally.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and then I've got people that study around the same time as me, and 3 years later, after working for 3 years, they're earning like more than 100,000 a year.
Wow, that's good. Good. Good.
very, very good income, and then it's highly in demand, so you will be looked after. Okay, and social worker, welfare worker, those may not be as popular as the other ones, but these are the options if you are interested in those areas. Chef and cook, they are still on the list. Yeah, for people that has less academic skill and English skill, those are definitely your options. And we also have accountant, management accountant. I'm not going to go in a lot of details, but these are still on the list. So I just wanted to highlight that. Pharmacist, retail, as well as hospital, ICT, business analyst. There's a lot of ICT occupation that's still on the high priority list, but I just didn't list all of them, including your security specialist as well. That's very popular here at the moment, and the developer programmer as well.
Now,
Yeah.
before we move on to the next slide, like, so you
Yeah.
say, well, these courses are very good for people who it's not just about landing a PR in NT, but also to land the jobs there, right? Because
Yeah.
these they can find jobs in these fields. Um,
Yeah.
it's just our questions for your clients. Are most of them coming to NT directly from offshore, or many of them are actually coming from interstate? So they were originally from Sydney and Melbourne first, and then they moved to NT. Which part is the major part of your
Actually, for students, I have offshore students as well as people that have been here on a working holiday visa, and then they want to remain in Australia. So they did it through studying a degree. So a majority of my clients through doing student visa, they are studying now because they've been previously on a 417 visa, like from Taiwan, from Hong Kong, and then they want to stay here.
Sure. Do you
And
see a
when
lot
I
of
go,
people from interstate moving there? Do you see people a
yes,
lot
I
from
do.
Sydney,
There's a lot.
Melbourne? Mm.
In the last 6 months, a year to 6 months or so, I've been seeing a lot of people. They originally went to Melbourne, and mainly Melbourne. That's the ones I found, like mainly Melbourne, and then they are coming to the NT. So they may have studied like one semester of their bachelor degree, and then they came here to finish their study. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're saying that someone who might finish the 6 months study of their
Yeah.
bachelor, and then
Yeah.
they feel like there's not much opportunity there, so they decided to move to NT. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't get that many clients from Sydney, but definitely a lot from Melbourne. Yeah.
Mm.
Don't know
Okay.
why. Yeah.
Yes. And all
I,
these courses are offered in Charles Darwin University, right? These
yes,
courses.
all of them are offered in city. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just move on. I'll quickly talk about the 190 and the 491. So we all know that the 190 is the permanent visa, and the 491 is a temporary 5-year visa. So in order to get a 190, the biggest thing is basically you have to be a international graduate, study in the Northern Territory for more than 2 or more years. So for a master degree in, let's say, civil engineering, electrical engineering, yes, you can. And then for graduates of Bachelor of Nursing, yes, you can. For graduates of Bachelor of Accounting, yes, you can. So it has to be 2 or more years. And then the NT graduates will be given the highest priority when it comes to 190. In saying that though, the migration NT is pretty much will only give 190 out unless you have a very strong case and strong commitment to the Northern Territory. The other ones will usually not consider, but we still encourage to apply.
So you're saying that in the future we're gonna see more 491 than 190. There'll be more 491 than 190.
Yes, you will see more 491s. There are higher chances in 491, but if you are studying in the Northern Territory for 2 or more years, then you don't need to worry about. You will pretty much be given like 99% be given a 190.
Oh wow! Because
Yeah.
you see, because I'm not sure about NT, but in Tasmania, what happened is we have graduates from University of Tasmania. They do the 2-year study master degree in UTAS. They're eligible for 190, But then when they
Yep.
apply for it, the state government offer them 489 instead.
Yeah,
So
I
which is
know. It really
like
sucks.
they're like very gutted, you know. They're really sad because of that. But I see more of that happening right now.
Yeah, but NT government is quite reasonable if that's their commitment to the international students, and they will usually do it unless they're given a very good reason, like because this is one of the things that they commit to the international student, that if you study for more than 2 years in the territory, then you can be invited to apply
Mm.
for 190 by the territory government.
Yeah, yeah. And and
Yeah.
and do you think they in the future they would add on the work experience element as well? Because I see in South Australia, I think not just study, but you need to work as well, isn't it? To get the nomination in SA.
Yes, yeah. You have to wait for 1 year unless you achieve like GPA of 6 and above, and then you can get it straight away. But no, I actually don't see that coming in the at least in the next 2 to 3 years, because I just went to a meeting with Migration NT about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yep.
and they still talking about the same thing, like 2 years study here in the territory. Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
great. And I think the
Yeah.
good thing is NT, the population is still very less as compared to SA, which is I think about 1.6 or 1.7 million, and
Yeah, we're
for
still
Tasmania is
sitting at
about
less than 250,000.
200.
Yeah.
Big people. That's good, good, good. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, definitely. When you like, I think that's one of their strategy, trying to attract students as well as skilled migrants to come to the territory, because we are in demand for skilled people. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So quickly go through the 491. So 15 points extra for regional nomination on the EOI. And then there are some incentives for your children to attend public school. You need to demonstrate your commitment to the NT. And then for international students that study for at least 2 years in other territory or states in Australia, you can come to the Northern Territory and apply for 491 visa nomination by the Northern Territory government. It is also for holder of like your 6 working holiday visas, as well as employer-sponsored temporary visas and offshore applicants. Yeah.
You know, like a lot of my, because you bring up good points there. Like I said, a lot of my clients they are in Sydney and Melbourne or even Brisbane,
Yep.
and they are on 485 visa, and
Yep.
they struggle to get the invitation for 189. As you know,
Okay.
the points are just getting very, very high.
Yep.
What would you recommend them to do in this case?
If they are already sitting on your 485 graduate visa, depending on I'll definitely look at the expiry on the visa first. If there is more than 6 months, then come to the NT, find a job. Once you live here and do you have to work here? I don't think you have to work here. You literally just have to demonstrate that you've lived here for 6 months, and then you have very good employment prospects, and then you can be nominated for a 491 visa, even though you study outside of the Northern Territory. Yeah. So I will encourage them to come to the Northern Territories to try and find a job. It's definitely more opportunity here, regardless it's about jobs or it's about the migration purposes as well. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. The 190 visa and the 491 visa, there is no preference on the higher EOI scores. So you can just achieve 65 points and then come here. Once you apply, you are in the queue. There's no priority for someone that's achieving 85.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you
Yeah.
do you think the minimum points might go up? Let's say maybe now it's 65. Can they go up to 70 soon or 75 very soon?
I am not 100% sure, but according to Migration NT, I don't think this is going to go up anytime soon. Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And just now, so you say that people from let's say Sydney or Melbourne can move to NT. Do they need to
Mm-mm.
find jobs? Work? They need to have a jobs there. They need to work for 6 months, or do they must they have a jobs in order to get the nomination?
They need to live here for 6 months. not necessarily they need to have a job at the time when they apply, or had a job for 6 months when they apply, but they need to prove that they've lived here for more than 6 months before they apply. And then they also need to demonstrate that they are able to get a job, but usually you will find a job within 6 months. 6 months is a really long time to get a job here. Yeah.
Oh, and can it be any job or must it be a relevant job? Let's say if I'm an
It has
accountant.
to be a relevant job. Yeah.
So if I'm an accountant, I go there, I must have a good prospect of finding an accounting jobs there.
Yeah. But accountants always come and go, so there is vacancy around. Yeah.
I got you. Great.
Yep. So I will move on. So the advantage of studying in the Northern Territory, competitive tuition fees. So the fees is slightly lower than down south, I believe. So I've got a graph here that actually is in the next slide. So our Bachelor of Nursing is currently at 33,000. That's not too bad, I think. Master of Engineering under 35,000. I think that's quite reasonable. I think University of Sydney is charging 39,000 a year.
Yeah. Very expensive.
If I'm not wrong. So accounting is also sitting at 32,000, which is pretty good as well. So very competitive rates here. And also we have a slightly lower, like 0.5 points, 0.5 points lower English requirement compared to other universities in other states. And then a lot of part-time job opportunity while you're studying. I talked about that earlier. So working in a restaurant, you usually get around $23, $24, $25 an hour before tax. And then there are some other, working in retail, you probably get like at least $20 an hour. So it's pretty good money, a lot of opportunity there. And you will usually find a job quite relatively easy, I would say. And then there's also very exciting employment and career opportunity, not just employment, also career, because people come and go here, even for the locals. So there's a lot of opportunity for career progression rather than just you're working. It's just a job for you, I would say that. And also definitely for migration opportunities and good incentives of being a anti-international student.
And just while we talk about the employment part, most of the jobs that you see, are they most of them, are they full-time or part-time jobs? Because in Hobart there are a lot of part-time jobs, not full-times. Most of them are
Full-time.
full-time.
Yeah. Yeah, full-time jobs. We are talking about the after graduation, right?
Yeah.
Yes, full-time. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of good opportunity here. I need to emphasize the fact that we actually need a lot more people, and as well as skilled people that can bring in their experience in and their passion into the territory. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll look after the people that's coming here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And while we're on here, I just want to ask you, how about the population? Are there a lot of Asian population there? A lot of old people there, or is it very young sort of population?
It's pretty young here. Like I think the average age is around 35 years old. There's not a lot of older generation of retirees here. I don't think a lot of people choose to retire in Darwin. I think once they finish their career, like get to the retirement age, they sort of move to Queensland, which is more convenient, as well as not convenient, like easier access, like maybe families there, and also the weather's better for older generations, I would say. But the population is really young here. Like you see all the working people, even like managers, like senior managers here or executives here, they are around 35 to less
Wow.
than 40 years old. So like the even like professional age is really young. Like I think I've got friends that's just around 25, 26, like way under 30 years old. They are already earning more than 100,000 a year. So yeah. So
Wow.
working age, yeah, working age is really young as well. The city is really young, definitely. We do get a lot of like older tourists who they come here during the dry season to avoid the colder climates down south.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's usually getting quite busy here between June, July, August, and then starts to slow down in September.
Mm. How
Yeah.
about because I know this is a bit a stereotype question, but how about for Vietnamese people? Because I'm from Vietnam originally myself. So what
Yeah.
do most of Vietnamese people do there besides selling phở and
Yeah.
your favorite food?
Yeah, there's a lot of Viets here. A lot of my friends are Viets. Yeah.
Like what
They,
usually they do for for living wise? Like, I know it's a bit
they
generalized, but what does sound
like
like?
a lot of my friends are engineers and accountants. Like people around my age, like the late 20s. Yeah. So
So they follow
yeah,
their family advice, their parents' advice. Be a doctor, be a
we are
lawyer, be a
lawyer and
be
yeah,
an
not
accountant.
so much, not so much lawyer, I think, but a lot of accountants and engineer. And for the my, I would say for my parents' age, like those people, a lot of them own business like restaurants and supplier business here. Yeah,
Because
a
you
lot
know,
of business restaurants. Yeah,
as we doing this this podcast, a lot of my clients they are in Sydney and Melbourne, and they one of the biggest concern they have is to look for jobs in NT. So what are
yeah.
some of the jobs that you think they can immediately find when they just move to NT? What would be some of the jobs be?
Um, is it graduates or
For
just
graduates, yeah, for graduates, usually
graduates?
they're
Yeah.
485 or or yeah, usually.
It really depends on what they're graduating with. Like, if you
Mm.
just go out and find an office admin job, it's quite easy. There's always calls for admins. If you need to find jobs like your IT, it's relatively easy as well. There's a big demand. There's a very, very big demand in terms of like ICT specialists. So if you have that kind of skill, definitely try and come get a job. See how you go. You probably like it. The lifestyle is quite laid back here. Yeah, and yeah, and I just because I just talked about I have a lot of accountant friends, and they always say, oh, this person is going again, oh, that person's coming but they're going again, and stuff like that. So there's a big turnover. So in terms of that, I also think it's quite easy to get an accounting job. We have KPMG, we have Deloitte, we have Ernst Young, and we have, what's the other one? PwC here, all the big fours
Wow.
here, and BDO as well. They're all here. They actually get a fair bit of job. I think majority of them will have some sort of contract like auditing, financial services contracts with governments. Yeah.
Wow, that's very good because what you just told me is really eye opening because from what I heard from the media and what I heard from people who hasn't been there, they say a
Yeah.
lot of negative things about NT, which is I think is not true. You know, a lot of
Yes.
yeah, it definitely is
Yeah.
not the place.
And just think about like the competition when you have to get into like KPMG, PwC. The competition here will be so much lower than compared to Sydney and Melbourne. Yeah. So if you can actually get your your foot in, like in the door, then eventually, if you are thinking about moving interstates, and it might be an opportunity for transfer because you're already in the company, in the industry with experience. Yeah.
Yeah, not talking about moving interstate. Because some of my clients they are about to graduate, and many of them they are doing a course that they feel like there's no future for them. There's no pathway for permanent residency for them, and they are really considering should they apply for 485 right away, or should they just hold on that 485 for now and go to NT do another course. Would you recommend them to do that? Just hold on the 485 for now first and probably go to NT first, do a study. in NT?
Yeah, probably. Like I said, the migration perspective for the Northern Territory is quite, I wouldn't say simple, but it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of incentives for people that study here. So if you are already study here, and also you are thinking about getting sponsorship, like state sponsorship from the Northern Territory government, then definitely come here. Yeah, to study another course. Yeah. Does
Okay.
that answer your question? Do I
Yeah.
need to elaborate? Yeah.
Yep. And some of the backgrounds, can you recommend, like, so let's say in terms of feasibility wise, someone with a background from, for example, accounting, or let's say just a normal business degree, uh, what course should they transition into that again, we have to look into the feasibility of them getting the student visa as well, right? So because I don't think they can just study any course, isn't it? Because there will be a GPE problem.
Yeah, yeah. If it's just a regular business course, then I would definitely recommend doing accounting, Masters of Accounting, the 2-year course. This will pretty much get you a 190 score. If you don't fail skill assessment, you get enough points, and also you will successfully complete your degree. Yeah.
Mm. How
Those
about
are the very basic
IT? Is it
requirements.
possible from business to IT
IT
degree?
Business to IT, I think so as well. Yeah, if you're studying a master in information technology, then I believe it should be okay. And because Charles Darwin University, it is a government school, so if city is basically happy to accept you, then in terms of the visa refusal, it's quite low.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think when I look into the NT occupation list, um, apparently there's, I can't see the secondary teacher. It's not on the NT list, is it?
Yeah. Okay. So for the anti-migration list, even though if your occupation is not one of the not on the list, basically, as long as it's on other lists and you can demonstrate that you can get a job, then you will be able to apply. So the ways to demonstrate if it is in demand or if you can get a job is basically, oh, has this job been advertised in the newspaper, in recruitment forums in the last 6 months? If it has, then pretty much you can demonstrate. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, based on your experience, have you done any cases for people from interstate to apply for the nomination in NT? Have you seen?
I actually haven't done a lot of interstate graduates and then coming to the NT to apply for previously the 489, but I've done a lot of offshore applicants, even with like marketing specialists, those are like less in demand. And then I've also done there's one that's funds manager, which is actually not on the anti-migration list, but they successfully got their what was it, 489, and they just got their 887, which is the transfer. And so yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I've actually done a fair bit of offshore instead of interstate applicant, which offshore in terms of the difficulty, it's actually higher than interstate applicant.
Yeah, of course. Offshore is actually not easy. And another thing that seems really attractive to people from other states coming in as well is the DAMA, the DAMA things going on in NT. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And is it easy for them to find sponsorship there? Is like what they say on the media?
Yeah, there's a lot of occupations available, and then there's also a lot of exemptions in terms of the sponsorship. However, one of the very basic requirements for DAMA is that you have to have 2 years of post-qualification experience unless it's exempted. Yeah, so experience is a huge thing for people that's trying to get a DAMA visa as well as just the general 482 visa. So usually skill level 1 to 3, we are talking about like childcare center manager, retail manager even, and then also your professional occupations like accounting, engineering, like those kind of occupation, you need 2 years post qualification experience. So if you are, let's for example, if you have studied interstate and you have been working in an occupation for 2 years, and then you are unable to get your 1A9 visa because the points or whatsoever, then give NT a go. You will get a job, and then you will most likely to get sponsorship, because NT employers are very, very happy to sponsor. They understand this kind of visa. I actually think most of the employers, like the bigger ones, they have very good understanding of this kind of visas. Yeah. And they're very happy to sponsor. Like 9 out of 10 that I've spoken with, and they are happy to sponsor. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really really good there, because a lot of them like I said, a lot of Vietnamese clients I have, they have background working as a chef or cook,
Yeah.
but few problems with them. One is they don't have the uh, relevant qualification, because they don't study that. They really just work after hours, and they never have any cookery certificate or anything like that. Two is because their English is very poor, so they can't really apply for any other skill visa. So their
Yeah.
only option now is pretty much just sponsorship. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why they're looking at DAMA as a way.
Yeah. The like when you talked about like chefs and cooks and stuff like that, there is English exemption for those occupations. So I think you still have to get a minimum of overall of 4, but there is no requirement on writing and reading. So your writing and reading could be as low as a 1. However, as long as your speaking and listening is quite sufficient, and then you are actually have a pretty good chance of getting the visa. And in terms of experience wise, I'm pretty sure you can, if you can get through a skill assessment, which is done by Migration NT, if you can demonstrate your experience that can, if you can basically demonstrate your experience, you will get a positive skill assessment by the Migration NT.
Oh, so what do you mean by skill assessment by migration and NT? I thought it's done by TRA and.
TIA does it as well, but I think one of the services our Migration NT has is they can also do skill assessments. But I need to confirm that one with you because I haven't done one for chef for DAMA. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Because I think it brings us to probably the last two questions. Is that there's always I say top 3 biggest concerns when people have when they want to go to regional areas.
Yeah.
One is about the employment, and I think you have addressed some of that. As you said, that there's a good numbers of jobs going on, very low unemployment rates, and the pay is also pretty high, as much as you said. And then the other concern they have is the accommodation. I'm not sure. Is it hard to find accommodation there? Because in northern in Hobart, it is a big problem to find a rental place.
Right. Okay. No, accommodation shouldn't be a concern. You are probably going to spend in a share accommodation. I think if you live at Charles Darwin University, they've got campus accommodation. Those are usually around $200 an hour, not an hour, $200 a week. Yeah, includes like all your bills, power bills, internet, etc. And then if you are living in a share house, you are probably looking at around $180 to $200 a week, and that also includes pretty much everything. Yeah, except food. You have to pay for that yourself.
Yeah, that's really good then. Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
because that is a big problem here. And
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's not, accommodation is not actually that expensive, and there are some accommodation if you are willing to share a room, like a one room has 2 single beds, etc., and you still get your own study space and all of that. It is available in some like homestay sort of renting, as well as at the campus accommodation supplier, the provider is the better word. So those are the cost of those will be a little bit lower. You are looking at around $130 to $150. So reasonable cost. Like the cost of living here, a lot of people say, oh, this is quite expensive, that's expensive. But at the same time, you are less likely to spend money here. Yeah, there's less things for you to spend money here. Really, you save money coming here because you're earning more and then you're spending less money.
That's awesome. Well, that's
Yeah.
a good combination.
Yeah.
Good. And in terms of studying at Charles Darwin University, do they have a lot of scholarship going on there
Yes.
to promote, to encourage people?
Yeah. So I am pretty sure there are three types of scholarships available. So one is the Northern Territory government scholarship available to international students. Charles Darwin University also has scholarships available for international students. I've helped one accounting student getting this too. So pretty much 75% of her course fee is waived.
What?
Yes. Yeah, 75%. So she's not paying much now. And there's another one which is a company here called Pastelli, and then they have scholarships available in conjunction with working with like Northern Territory government as well. That's also available to international students. Yeah.
And all these scholarship, where can they find them? How can they know more information about this scholarship?
Study NT. So there's a website. If you Google Study NT, and then you should be able to see under the scholarship section.
Gotcha. Great. Is there any final advice that you would like to share with people who is kind of keen to go to NT but still a little bit hesitating? Like, is there any advice for these people?
Yes, definitely. If especially for people who are planning or considering studying already, instead of studying in maybe Queensland, yes, with nice weather and everything, or studying in the SA, maybe consider NT as well. There's very, very good employment prospects. You can always get a part-time job when you're studying if you need to support yourself. And then last but not least, you will very likely to get your 190 visa, which gets you the PR straight away. Yeah.
Wow. Great. Thank you so much for your time today, Tony. I think you really clarify a lot of the doubts that my clients have. And if they want to use your service, or if they want to consult with you, how can they contact you, Tony?
Yeah. Okay. So if you need to contact me, do you have my contact details available?
I think I do.
Actually, 1 second. It's in the thank you page.
Okay.
So these are my contact details. I'm also about to forget to, yeah. So here's my phone number. I do have 2 different phone numbers available, but you can contact me on any of those. In terms of the email, it's tone, TONE _0904 at hotmail.com. So that's the easiest contact, because the other email address, I might not get all the emails coming through. I don't know why. I still find Hotmail the easiest one. And then also we've got, am I supposed to talk about the offer now?
Yeah. Sure. Go for it.
Okay. So thank you for coming to this Q&A and webinar session. So basically, if you are going to contact me for further consultation or advice on your pathway, etc., please feel free to contact me over there. And then also we have the offer, which is I'll offer the first initial consultation for free, as well as 10% off any professional fees if you come through to me. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, that's very nice of you. So guys, I hope today's session really answer a lot of your questions about NT. So it's, from my understanding and from what Tone has said, NT is really good destination, and you guys should really consider it. Now is the best time to make the decisions. With all these changes going on, regional area is definitely the way to go, and NT should be on top of the list, given the policy there is good. The employment rate is good. The weather and everything else seems very appealing if I were an international student, I might go to MT first place.
Yeah.
But too late by now. But yeah, again, thank you so much for you guys. And please, if you're interested in contacting Ton, make sure you do so. All her contact is left. I will put it again under the video, so you can always contact her. Thank you and have a good day.
Read me, send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, yeah, my dream.